This video covers how to complete a mass labor rate change using the import-export tool. This explains how to change labor rates when log records using those rates already exist using the import-export feature. This is a multi-step process that requires familiarity with Cartograph's import and export feature. You must have administrator rights to access this feature. Before you begin, edit your existing labor log records with the most current labor rates to ensure costs are accurate. If your organization uses multiple labor rates for a single employee, add filters to identify the rate name, for example, standard and grade 6. Perform this process for each rate name. The first step in the process is to select labor rates to update. From the Cartograph administration page, select Import Export. Select Format Editor, and we'll create a import-export format. We'll choose Resources, type will be Labor and Rates, and we will create a format and name it Select Labor Rates Requiring an Update. I'm going to turn on Include Field Names and scroll down, and for Export, use Filter, select it on, and set my filter. My filter is going to be Parent Labor, Full Name, or full name is. You can customize the filter for your specific needs. On the Fields section, I'm going to put the following fields on: Parent ID, Effective on, Expires on, Rate, Rate Name, and CGID. I'm going to save this format and run the export. I'm going to show in folder and copy my download to my desktop. The next step in the process is to create a dummy rate. I'm going to open the CSV that I just exported out of my system and update the values. I'm going to set the effective on date to the date I want the new rate to go into effect, which will be 7/1/2018. I do know the expires on date, so I am going to go ahead and set that to be 6/30/2019 for both rates. I'll update the rate amount and I will set the value to dummy for the rate name. I'm going to leave the system ID as it is. I'm going to save this file with a new name, so I'll do Save As and save it on my desktop. And I'm going to name it Create a Dummy Rate. I'm going to go back into the Cartograph format editor and open the format created to select labor rates requiring an update. In the Fields tab, I'm going to remove the CGID field and add a filler field in the same position. And I'm going to save this as Create a Dummy Rate. I'm going to save. And now I'm going to run the import to import that Create a Dummy Rate CSV that we just edited. So the Create a Dummy Rate CSV is there. I've chosen my data source. I'm going to go ahead and run the import. The next step in the process is to select the labor log records that need to have their rate updated. I'll go back into the format editor and create a format under Resources, Labor Logs, and I'll name the format Select Labor Log Records. Hit save. I'll turn on Include Field Names, and I'll scroll to the bottom and set the filter of date is from 7/1/2018, and I'll do parent labor, full name is Emma Klingman, or parent labor, full name is John Smith. I only want records for these two laborers from 7/1/2018. I'll go ahead and hit apply. I'll move over to the fields section, and I want the parent ID and the CG ID and the rate name. I want to turn on check for duplicates for the CG ID so that I'm updating the existing labor logs rather than creating new ones. I'm going to go ahead and save the format and run the export and save it on my desktop. I'll go ahead and do show in folder, copy, and paste to my desktop. The next step that I need to complete is to change the labor log rates that I just exported out to be the dummy rates. So I'll double click to open the select labor log rates, and I'm going to go ahead and change the rate name to dummy. I'm going to leave all the other fields as they are, and I'm going to go ahead and save this file to my desktop as update labor log records. Next, I'll go back into the import-export tool, and I will go to import, and I'll select the category of resources, the type of labor, and I'll choose the format of select labor log records. I'll select my data source as the update labor log records file, and I will run the import. The purpose of this import was to update the labor logs to change the rates to dummy so that we can go ahead and expire the standard rates for the two laborers that we're editing here. The way that we'll do that is we'll go into the format editor, and we'll open the resources, labor, and rates, and we're going to open the select labor rates requiring an update format. And I'm going to go to the field section and turn on the check for duplicates for the CG ID so that I can update these rates instead of create new ones. I'm going to save the format as update expiration date. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And I'm going to go ahead and go to my desktop and open the select labor rates requiring an update CSV. And I'm going to set the expires on date for these to be 6/30/2018. Copy and paste that for both. And I'm going to go ahead and save this file. I'll save it as update expiration date. I'll go back into the format editor, and I'll run the import, and I'll choose the data source as update expiration date and import. Next, we want to change the dummy rates that we made for our two laborers to be called standard rates. So we'll go to the format editor, and I'm going to open the update expiration date format. And in the properties tab, I'm going to go ahead and change the filter to include rate name is dummy. So I have the laborers are Emma Klingman or John Smith, and the rate name is dummy. That shows that I have two. I'm going to go ahead and apply this. I'll save the format file as select dummy rates. Save, and I'm going to go ahead and run that export. Again, I'll go ahead and copy this onto my desktop. Finally, the last step that we want to take is to change the dummy rate name. So I'm going to open the select dummy rates file. and change that to standard. And I'm going to go ahead and save as. And I'm going to say change dummy rate names for this file. Close that down. I'm going to come back into the format editor. And I'm going to go ahead and run the import with that change dummy rate names file to update the rate names from dummy to standard for the new rates that we created for our laborers. And that's it. We have now done a mass labor rate change. If I come out to my labor log record for John Smith, I'd now see that the rate name is changed back to standard where it was previously dummy. And I have 2 standard rate names, both with expiration dates.